All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Melanin Margin, the weekly chat show where conversations about race are never off the table. We're your hosts, Quaviondre Williams.
And Daquon Wilson.
So let's get into this week's conversation. What's hot on the table this week?
So condolences are due to Nick Cannon and Alyssa Scott after they announced on December 7th, 2021, that their 5-month-old son, Zen, recently passed away from brain cancer. This devastating news came out only hours after Nick Cannon's privacy was invaded with his nudes being leaked online by an unknown source. The conversation surrounding the death of his son was nearly overshadowed by the fans online who spent most of the early afternoon objectifying Nick Cannon's exposure and scrutinizing his body. There is no question that expose and leak culture is a problem. But at what point will people start to discuss how detrimental it can be to the person whose nudes were leaked? Most celebrities who had their nudes leaked online did not consent to these photographs being online for people to critique and discuss. So this begs the question, do you think that there is a double standard for how men are received when their nudes leak versus when women's nudes leak?
1,000, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000%. I think that there is just like, there is a massive,
Infinitely.
it's infinitely. And I think, and it is, I really want to say, we really do feel for Nick Cannon right now. Like, that's a horrible thing to go through. And the fact that, like, this was just all that was people were talking about for so much. And, like, this, it was so disgusting. And, like, what I really thought was so crazy was that when a man's nudes are leaked, it's all about how big is that? And it's very like that kind of sexual, like, I wonder what it does, or what does it look like? Or and it's very that. But when a woman's nudes are leaked, yeah, men also do that too, but it's also what is it? Slut shaming culture. It's like, oh,
Mm.
she's a whore, she for the streets. How you let somebody leak your stuff like the fuck they intended for it to be done? And it just pisses me off because it's like men are oftentimes kind of pedestalized for it, like saying like, oh yes, like, oh, we know what you packing, honey, oh, that's serious. Like, I remember one time, even on Wendy Williams' show, I think it was Safari who was on there, and she was like, we know it's big. Like, we know, da, 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 da. And it's just kind of like, that was just so fucking disgusting. Like, men, like, once again, women are definitely objectified in society. We know that to be true because of patriarchy, but I think there's also a level of understanding too that men are objectified as well. And it's oftentimes more acceptable for men to be objectified by other women and other people than for women to be. Does that make sense? Am I making sense on that one?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think that there's definitely that aspect to it where when a woman's nudes leak, it's like it's less focused on like the body itself and more on like, why would you take a picture like that? What are you doing with that type
Exactly.
of image? Like focusing on like their the at the presence of that photograph being some type of moralistic
Yeah.
code for her character. And it's not the same way with men. And that's like there is this double standard and this double-edged sword where it's just like, it's yes, of course, women are objectified so much
Absolutely.
in society.
Way more. Yeah.
So way more than men.
Yeah.
And I think that in instances where nudes are leaked, it creates a situation where like they're already so objectified that like you just got to go to the next thing and make judgment calls on the
Yes.
character because
Yeah.
let's be real, like men are probably undressing women in their minds all the time. They're
Yeah.
wondering all of these things all the time, so when it comes out it's like I've already imagined it, so it doesn't really matter to me.
I'd
But
even
I think that there's like this level of not modesty, but that's the word that's coming to my mind when it comes to men and their image because women are so sexualized in so many different industries, especially the entertainment industry.
Yeah, I think that for me, it's also like that idea of like, it's, and I really love what you said about the idea that like, because they're already so sexualized in society, the next level is well, we already know we already been imagining what you would look like naked. Now that we know, we have to talk about your character and we have to go to the next thing. And so it's really weird because I think that men are definitely objectified in a different way. And I think it's more socially acceptable for women to objectify men than it is for men to objectify women, because we know that's a problem. We recognize it's a problem because we know that but I think it's also and I think it's even a level of patriarchy there too, because it's almost as if they're saying that, women are the only ones that need to be protected. And while that is true, that women do need to be protected and need to be feel safe, there's also this kind of ignoring of of male safety and stuff like that. Like, I think that what I'm bringing up here is that when we look at Harry Styles and we look at the Taylor Lautners and the the characters like that, where they're always on the screen with their shirts off, and they're seen as these kind of bolstered as these sex objects. And I think the reason I thought about this is because recently I watched a clip that just came across my my Explore page on my YouTube homepage, and it was of Ellen and Taylor Lautner, and like Taylor Lautner surprising his fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if you've seen this before. Have you seen that video?
I haven't.
Well, in the video, Taylor Lautner is coming out into the audience, and he's like, the girl's like, "Oh my God, Taylor Lautner!" Freaking out, running down, and then going to hug him, right? And he opens his arm to like, "Okay, I'll give you a hug." So he gives her a hug. He opens up. He consents to that aspect of it. And then when he pulls away, she runs her hand down his chest and to his abs. And he was just like, and you saw his face, but of course he's trying to be, he's smiling and, whatever. But it's just like, you could tell that it made him uncomfortable, but he was trying to just put a smile because he didn't want people to think he was a bitch or he was being like, a jerk or whatever the case may be. But it's that level of like, just like there's an expectation in society in the male gaze, it's like that, whatever the case may be. I also think that there is not a conversation being said about respecting the fact that people need to stop objectifying people as objects or commodifying parts of their body. And I think that in this situation, it's just like you just ran your hand across a stranger's chest and stomach without their consent. Do you know what I mean?
More than weird. It's nasty. It's disgusting. And like, I agree. And I also think that I think part of this conversation is that women's nudes leaking is normalized. It's one of those things where when you hear somebody's nudes leaked, it's usually a female actress or a female musician or artist or whatever. And so there are these rare instances where it is a male's nudes being leaked. And I think that's part of the reason why there's a lot more, objectifying or whatever, because it doesn't happen as much. When we see a woman getting nudes leaked, it's like, all right, it happened 20 million times. And that is a problem because leaking is disgusting.
It's almost an expectation in a way,
right?
Because society has ingrained so much that women's bodies are objects, because that's the way that patriarchy has made us believe women to be. When a woman's needs, when news get leaked, the first thing we think is, a man did it, and people call her out because they're like, you shouldn't have did this, you shouldn't have did that, whatever, all that kind of stuff. And I also think it's another level of what I've also realized is that somebody made this up on TikTok, and I thought this was really powerful too. They were like, it's really funny how men will sit there and call women all kind of things when their nudes get leaked. And then they oftentimes are saving those pictures and doing things with them later. And she was like, but it's really funny how they talk about women and trade nudes with women that they have with each other and be like, oh yeah, look at this girl. Like, I'm showing you a picture of my girl. I'm this girl I talked to, or this hoe or whatever. But when a woman has an OnlyFans or something that she is like charging you for, then, she a hoe. She a this. She a that. She a this. Or women who work in adult entertainment. And it's just like, it's just weird. And somebody saw this and I thought this was so powerful because she was like, you're really excited and y'all talk hell and high water about woman when she has her nudes leaked without her consent. But when she consensually provides a space for you to check her stuff, they're like, why the fuck does she have an OnlyFans? These women are for the streets or whatever. She was like, is it because it wasn't consent? Is that what turned you on, was knowing that she didn't consent to having her pictures taken? Is that what made you feel strong? And the girl and I was like, oh, damn. I was like, and it's like that reality of like the conversation when a woman has an OnlyFans is vastly different than a man. And so people are like, women have gotten fired for having an OnlyFans, fully fired from their jobs. And it's just like, and it's because of, but like, and she was like, out the, and then they're bringing that back to that conversation. She was like, is it because, do you like it more because it's not consented? Do you like when you have your friend, you're showing a picture of somebody that somebody gave you, and it's like, oh yeah, look at this, and I know they don't know, and does that make you feel good? But had that woman released her nudes herself, it's like damn if you do, damn if you don't kind of thing. That makes sense, Daquon?
Yeah, it makes total sense because it's all about power. It's
Yes.
maintaining that power. When you have a woman's nude on your phone and you're sharing it to whoever you want, you have the power over her body in that sense.
Exactly.
Or even if it's like something leaking, you are looking at it and you are downloading it and whatever, like you have that power because she did not consent to it. But in an instance where somebody has an OnlyFans, they are consenting for, people to see them in this sexual way.
Yes.
And you no longer have the power. And I do think that there is also a problem with people then, taking OnlyFans pictures and releasing it elsewhere, because that is just as illegal as it is to, give somebody's nudes away to somebody. It's all illegal, by the way. Don't do it. It's never okay.
It's stealing. It's fully stealing. Yeah.
Right. And it's also just like sexual harassment. You are sexually harassing a person in a way that they did not, because they did not consent to it.
Yeah. And I think and that's the reason why there's a paywall behind it. Yeah. And I think there's another level to it. Like, I think because we all know, like I said before, I do think that there is a problem that we do objectify men as well in a different way. And it's a little bit more socially acceptable to objectify both women and men. Of course, women to a much greater extent, not even touching the same level. But I do think that there is also a level of understanding on a man's part, because I also think the reason why that people I think that the reason why people talk so, sexually about men when their nudes leak is because it's almost kind of, again, that expectation that men are sexual beings. So it's like, there's that idea of like, if their nudes leak, it's like, well, we expect that from them because men aren't expected to be chaste like women are, quote unquote. They're supposed to be, the women are supposed to be, quote unquote, modest or chaste or virginal in the society's eyes. So when a man's nudes leak in the conversation around it, it's kind of like, yeah, you did that. You got a big ass dick. And I very much so that kind of energy, it's almost like a point of pride. Now, again, not to say that's how the person whose nudes were leaked feels, but I think that society almost sees it as a prideful thing when when a man's nudes are leaked and he has a big or larger member. It's almost like, oh yeah, you got a big da-da-da. It's great for you. It's good, right? Ha-ha. And I also think, Daquon, because this is the Melanin Margin, and race is never off the table. And I wanted to bring up this. Now, not too long ago, Chris Evans' nudes were leaked. And the fan response online was visceral. People were like, don't fucking look it up. Don't look it up. People were reporting accounts that the news were attached to, all kind of stuff. They were like, his mental health. And once again, not making light of that. But it's really funny how when Chris Evans' nudes were leaked and people were like, very much so, like, don't scrub in the internet. Like, they were trying to help him get rid of this. Like, don't talk about it. Don't do it. His emotions, whatever. They gave a lot of a fuck about how he felt about this. It was incredible. Like, people were like, oh, we can't find. They're like, stop asking, stop bringing it up. But when a Black male celebrity's nudes are leaked, everybody's talking about how sexual they are and how hot it is and whatever. You can find the picture anywhere. And I wanted to ask, Daquon, do you think
you ain't even gotta ask the question? You ain't even gotta ask the question. 1,000,000 infinite %. Like, absolutely. For the people, the question would probably be something along the lines of, do you think that there is a difference? And absolutely there is a difference.
And that was the question?
Because, like, we have to realize where like our society is. There was plenty of times when black people in general are just like overly objectified in a sexual way.
Mm-hmm.
There were literal human zoos where people would take women and be like, look at how large their breast is. This is
Mm-hmm.
because they come from Africa and they have like these huge breasts and they can like flip one over their shoulder to feed a child and like creating
Mm-hmm.
all of these crazy stories, as well as objectifying black men, being like, look at how large your phallus is, and creating all of these stories about like mandingos and all of that different things. So our society has a huge history of just like objectifying black people in an overly sexual way, you know. And even if we think about just like when black people came to this country, they were valued for their sexuality in a sense. They were valued because if they were able to, have sex and reproduce, that is more labor for these white plantation owners. So, from the founding of this country, there has been this kind of instinctual knowledge that black people are property and they are basically sexual cattle. And so
Mm.
it's not surprising even now that when we have a celebrity whose nudes leak, that when it's a white person like Chris Evans, it's all about we shouldn't be doing this. Like we got to care about them. But when it's a black person, it's like, oh, who cares? Like they took it, they took the picture or whatever, and like basically just treats them like a sexual object because they've been doing this for centuries.
Baby, Daquon does not hold no bears, baby. And that's on period. I literally agree with everything you said. Like I knew I knew you were about to go off on that one. I knew you were about to go off on that one. But it really is it just was so surprising to me because I was like, where is the same energy for black men? Or in this case, where's the same energy for women when their nudes get leaked? What about their anxiety? What about their mental health? And
Right.
I mean, once again, not saying that Chris Evans didn't deserve that reaction. I'm not advocating at all for him not having that reaction at all. I'm just saying that it just really baffles me that this cis white man was defended heavily by his fans, by people online who were like, stop doing this. His mental health, his anxiety, he's got going on this and the fourth. But it's kind of like, where is that same sensitivity to women and people of color? Where is the same sensitivity? Because what about Nick Cannon's mental? It just really breaks my heart because I can't even imagine what he's going through right now
After
with having
losing a child. Not only losing a child, but losing a child so young to something like brain cancer.
And then having the conversation all around your penis. That being the only thing that people are talking about. While you're going through probably one of the hardest fucking devastating things in your life right now, people have nothing to say but, oh, look at how, oh, yeah, I bet. And then even the comments are like, oh, yeah, I know. That's why you got a lot of kids. What it case to be like, literally just like, and then to have that announcement
so insensitive. How are you going to talk about, oh, that's why he's had so many kids when he literally just lost? I can't with these people. I'm literally so upset right now.
It's so, and it just really just breaks my heart because I'm kind of like, and again, not saying that Chris Evans doesn't deserve the same, it doesn't deserve that respect, or that doesn't deserve that kind of whatever. What I'm saying here is the fact that Nick Cannon is going through not only having his privacy leaked, but having just announced to the world that his child is gone. And all the conversation for the most of the day before he even made the announcement officially was around his penis. And Chris Evans, who at the time, I'm not saying he wasn't going through something else, but it's like even just the level, it was just like different levels. If I may, I'll say that, just different levels. And the fact that even with a devastating loss being something that he was going through, Nick Cannon, and it's just like, this is the conversation we're having. This is what we as a society, what we're doing. And like Chris Evans he just talked about anxiety and depression before. He just talked about it before. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what he was going through at the time, but he just talked about it before, and people had so much sensitivity and so much worry for him. They were just oh. And once again, where is that same energy to Black people and women when their news, when Kaylee Cuoco's news were leaked, when Kim Kardashian, when all the other people, like when their news leaked online, like where was that same sensitivity to be like, what about her mental health? What about Nick Cannon's mental health right now?
The people with the most privilege get the most protection.
Get them, and again, I am not saying that Chris Evans' news deserved to be talked about the way that Nick Cannon's was. I'm just saying we're talking about, objectively speaking, about the racial differences and undertones of this conversation. The fact that as a white man, he is being the most protected class of people. He is among the white cis male population, the safest people in America. And people are going the extra mile to keep him safe. Yet white women, Black women, people of color, not at all the same.
Right. And it's even frustrating that you would have to even have a disclaimer like that. Have a disclaimer to be like, oh, well, like, I'm not saying that he, deserved more. Because so many times when we talk about Black issues, it's always this zero-sum game. It's always, oh, if we ask for more thought and care about Black people's mental health after they're going through something so hard and so heartbreaking, like losing a child and getting their news leaked, if we ask for people to have some type of care, then all of a sudden people think, oh, if we care about Black people, then we got to care less about white people. And it's like, it's a lot. That's a conversation for another day, though, because we could talk about that forever. And we will have more conversations like that. So subscribe so you won't miss them.
Period.